Popcorn here. Look, it's Frank. It's Dorian. We're in the Chapel of Evil Corp. Yes, we've come back home, and even better than the foyer. This is where we're wanting to shoot this in the future. Yes, because it's just awesome. Yeah, and I'm going to go into detail in the future what I've done in this space, but they'll be on the side. We're not talking about that today. We are continuing the Horror Iceberg. Yes, Gateway Tier, still with James Wan. And we are doing Insidious. Yeah, 2010, this one came out. Now, Dorian, yes, this is not part of the Conjuring universe, is it? Could you explain how it's not?
Even though Patrick Wilson is in both.
Yeah.
No, this is like an entirely separate thing. It's still supernatural, it's still James Wan, but it's an entirely separate storyline and different lore. I feel that the Conjuring, because they're based on like real stories, they're more so grounded in reality, versus Insidious is a lot more, you know, it's got their own lore with like, you know, these demons and the further and all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit more fantasy almost.
Yes, it is. It's still a haunted house film.
Yes.
Yeah, and the three films that we've seen, in, even though Annabelle was not directed by Wan, no.
He was a producer.
The producer on that
so
one.
he was still involved.
Yes, and they've all been haunted house films. But this one is a bit more divorced from reality. It does definitely get more fantastical. Okay, just some basic information. Of course, it's directed by James Wan. Who's it written by there, Dorian?
My friend Lee Winnell.
Yeah, no, this is interesting. He also stars in the film.
Yes.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
You told me last week, remind me again, his friend, it's Specs
and Tucker.
Yes, who's Tucker again?
So
for those who are just jumping on now.
He's an Australian actor. I know him from like comedy improv stuff on an Australian TV show. Thank God You're Here, from back whenever. He's been in, I've also seen him in 100 Bloody Acres, which is another Australian, like it's a comedy horror kind of thing, and he's really good in that. But yeah, so when I first watched this movie, I was just like, I'm used to seeing him doing some like stupid improv.
Yeah, he's
and
funny in this though. He's very funny in this.
We'll get into it later in
terms
of that comedy stuff, in terms of my feelings on it.
We'll touch on the cast. Yes, Patrick Wilson is back. Yes, he seems to love doing these movies. He even directed one in the future, but we'll get to that. The mother is played by mother character Rose Byrne. Renee Lambert, however you say your name there. We have little Dalton Lambert, played by Ty Simpkins. We have the great Lynn Shay. Hello, Lynn. She plays Elise. Lee Winnell plays Specs. Lee is in this movie, and if you don't know, once upon a time, James Wan and Lee Winnell created Saw.
That's what put their name on the map.
Absolutely. Angus Sampson as Tucker. The mum, Patrick Wilson's mother, that is Josh, is played by Barbara Hershey, and actually played by Barbara Hershey, who plays Lorraine Lambert. I actually thought she was quite good as well. And they're pretty much the main players. Absolutely. Now, this is So this is separate. So this is part of the James Wan universe, but it's separate to the Conjuring. Yes, it kind of creates its own universe with all the sequels that come after this.
5 movies at the moment.
You had a little off here. You had a little bit of a tidbit about Dalton.
So I was having a look at the cast and all that kind of stuff, and so Insidious 1 and Insidious 2, you know, it's within the same time frame. You know, you have Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne as the parents, and then they have 3 children. And in the first Insidious, their oldest son, Dalton, ends up in a coma, and that's what starts the whole movie off.
Yes.
And then a few more movies happen within this series, and then we return back to this Lambert family. And that's the most recent movie, The Red Door. And I didn't realize this until I was looking just before, but even the actor who played Dalton is still the same actor. Because hey, enough time has passed that like that kid now is old enough to be, Dalton's going off to college, it's the same actor. So it isn't just, like the other recurring characters who are adults, who are the same actors. He's also back.
Yeah, so he grew up with this franchise, which is interesting. Yeah, I'm sure he's fine psychologically.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's absolutely fine. Okay, so far what have we covered in the James Wan portion of the Gateway Tier? We started off with Annabelle.
Yeah.
Then we've done The Conjuring. This is the third film, yes? Yeah. All right, so Annabelle is what it is. I think I enjoyed it a bit more than you, but it doesn't touch The Conjuring or this film. No, that is fair.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Okay, so I'll put my 2 cents in first. I did like this film. Like any of these films, they're not perfect.
Yeah.
You know, they are for horror fans at the end of the day, definitely. Not apologising for them, but they are made for horror fans, so they're not perfect. Now, which one do you prefer, Conjuring or Insidious?
I personally prefer Insidious.
Why?
In terms of, because like I said, it's a little bit more fantastical, and then also even just the way that it looks and feels, like The Conjuring, at the very least the first one, because that one is more fresh in my mind. I think in part because of the time period. I associate it with like the color brown and sepia. Brown and sepia tones and that aged kind of thing, and it feels very warm and soft. And this one's a little bit nastier.
Yes, it is nastier. It's more frantic.
Yeah,
it's more
and then in terms of how it looks, I feel that the blacks are a lot richer and darker.
Okay.
When they're in the further, you have some interesting use of color as well, which helps, the lighting, like which helps sell that sort of fantastical feel. I prefer the lore and that kind of stuff in it a little bit more. And then also, like, I just good old lipstick face. He gives me Freddy Krueger vibes.
Tiny Tim, as I call him, but he is amazing. Yeah. No, he's a great demon. He's a great baddie. Absolutely.
I mean, I can't speak, it's been a hot minute since I've seen the later films in the franchise, so I can't speak as to how I feel about those. But comparing the first Conjuring to comparing the first Insidious, I personally prefer Insidious to The Conjuring. Okay.
I prefer The Conjuring. Yeah, I think the pace is better. My first note here is literally the infestation, which is the first stage of possession of a home, or haunting of a home, where they just start, the ghosts or whatever, the demons or whatever, just start fucking things, moving an object, slamming a door, not quite sure, just playing with mind psychologically. I thought the pace of that was better, and I was more sold on the family dynamic. Of that one, because there's heart in both of these movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I thought, apart from Lin Shaye, I thought the human dynamic of it, certainly when it related to the family unit, I thought Conjuring did a better job, because I forget the actor's name. Do you remember the actor's name? The mother of Conjuring?
Lily Taylor.
That's it, yes.
Yeah,
I thought she was way better than the mum in this. Again, this is not personal, don't know the person, the actor personally, just critiquing the work. Yeah, exactly. I much preferred her, but I'll get into that dynamic. And I thought, the camera work is better, it was more subtle. Yeah. But I think that's purely subjective based on what you prefer, but we can discuss that as we go
along. I also, to your point in terms of like, the subtlety and subtle build-up. Something that I felt while I was watching it, because I've seen it before, and I know that, like, which I'm pretty sure was in the trailer, it's not your house that's haunted, it's your son. That reveal happens at the midpoint in the movie. So up until that point, you're assuming it's a haunted house movie.
Yes.
And so I feel that it was kind of intentionally playing with those tropes.
Yes.
And so
I agree with that.
That could be partially why it was a little bit more blatant and not sort of that gradual build. Yeah. But also, that said, the moment the wife is there, I'm pretty sure this house is haunted, this is terrible, I want to get out of here, I want to move out. You know that it's not actually a haunted house movie because the husband says, okay, we'll move then. Because in an actual haunted house movie,
Yeah, they don't, do they?
No, you're crazy. You don't know
No.
what you're talking about. You're
Yeah.
being irrational. We're not moving.
Now that's interesting because there was a resistance from the father
At a later point.
at a later point. And I watched this movie twice, and I found the father became very despondent very quickly to the mother's reactions to what was going on in the house, and this seemed out of character.
It
he's
kind
a good
of
actor.
was just like that.
Yeah, he's a good actor as well. And I thought, what is happening here? On the second viewing, when you discover that the father is an astral projector, he's a traveller. This is how they get into the further. This happened to him as a kid, but it was suppressed. So the big baddie couldn't take his body. And that made sense, the way that he was just ignoring things, just suppressing things, avoiding the house. It was a very unconscious
conversation,
reaction.
when they're having that initial conversation about like, something's going on in this house and I hate it here, blah, blah, blah. And she's there saying, you're not here for me, and you always do this. You always, don't want to deal with stuff, and, you run away from things and blah, blah, blah. And like, the assumption is that it's because he has that repressed trauma, but then also like, you can say that that's some character arc for him in that like, when it comes down to it, in order for him to save his son, he's not going to run away from this difficult situation. He's instead going to actually face it straight ahead.
Yeah. So he had to make that transformation within himself, which I did appreciate the second time round. It made much more sense, definitely. Now, in terms of the infestation of Insidious, way more blatant, way more noisy, absolutely. To the point of, at times, it's like the mother, you kind of should be losing your mind with what you're seeing, sort of thing. This is happening now. This is happening
the bit,
now,
the bit like with the baby monitor, which is always
that's
like...
the first real sign that something's going
like,
wrong.
that's always such a good... I think that's always really effective in terms of like hearing something fucked up on a baby monitor, because like the other side of that is at, your baby's crib. Like, this is a baby, how like vulnerable they are. And the reason why you have that there is to keep, so you can be elsewhere in the house but still hear if anything's up. And then if you hear some kind of, something that you aren't expecting, there's something wrong, I need to... Instead, she just stands in the foyer and is there listening to it. She's like, what's going on? What's happening? And it's getting more and more menacing. And she's just continuing to stand there. And I'm like, why aren't you like running upstairs the moment you hear something like that? Like,
There was So the character arc of the father worked. The way the mother was reacting to things. The dynamic between
it was honestly, with the exception of that, her response to things was very much the stereotypical like woman in the household that's like, she's being irrational. She's being too emotional. It's very stereotypical.
Yes, it was a little stereotypical. So I wasn't too fussed on that. But once it actually gets into the further and the fantasy, then that's basically, you forget about that, you forget that for me anyway, So I prefer the infestation of the Conjuring because there was more realistic reactions to what was going on because the acting was better, pure and simple. What you're saying about lighting and stuff and colorization,
that's more in the further part of it.
And that's subjective. I do like that old school 70s looks with film. That's just subjective.
I just feel that use of colour helped make The Conjuring feel more grounded in reality.
Yes, a good point.
Versus for Insidious, it made it feel a little bit more fantastical.
Now, first, let's just explain the further quickly because I want to talk about how there were echoes, there were little signs of the further within the first half of the film. So the further, for your kids, it's basically like the upside down in Stranger Things.
Kind of.
Instead of upside down, it's all around you. At all times. I think Stranger Things was kind of heavily inspired for that concept from this. Don't know for real, but it smacked of familiarity there, similarity. And it's just all the bad ghost demons, etc., trying to get into our world. Dalton goes into a coma, and then a whole bunch of demons and there's levels to their maliciousness, are trying to get into Dalton, ultimately to cause pain as what is lipstick. What do you call it?
Lipstick face. That's what he's credited as.
He's credited as
in
that.
the end credits. That's what he's credited as. Lipstick face demon.
We'll go with that. That's what was written.
Yeah, when me and my friends, when we first watched it, we're like, oh, he just looks like Darth Maul.
Yeah, little tiny Darth Maul.
So we're all calling him Darth Maul, but then we're like, oh, he's apparently credited as Lipstick Face. Yeah. Okay, sure.
Yeah. But he was great.
Yeah.
Though.
He was not in it as much as I remember. I thought he was in it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
He's barely in it. He gives me heavy Freddy Krueger vibes, so
absolutely.
I'm all with that.
yeah, absolutely. Of course, same. But I liked seeing less of him than more. It definitely works. So there was some refrains and subtlety used there. All right, so the early hints of the further within the house. Yeah. This is the first house they go to, yes? And apparently the mother hinted at, there was some hint that the house they just come to was messed up or something. They'd just been through something before coming to this house. Do you remember that?
Yeah, because she had said it's something that, we moved to this new house and I want things to be different this time. And so I'm not
They never really went into
sure
what that was about. Though. Okay, that doesn't matter. We'll let that go. All right, the sound within the house.
Yeah. I really love the score.
No. Okay, no, I'm talking about the recording of dialogue.
Oh,
Purely within the film, the diegetic sound. Not the soundtrack. The
soundtrack's strings.
No,
so much string instruments for the non-diegetics.
Yeah, a lot. Maybe a little too much.
Yeah. It was intense. Like I normally don't notice that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I was noticing it so much for that, and I mean, I really enjoyed it, but also it was a lot.
It was a lot. The recording of the dialogue created this very cavernous, chamber hall sound. The further is this space that goes on and on. It has no real walls. It has no real definition.
It's like a big black empty void.
Yeah. Were they trying to hint at that through the sound to begin with before they actually go into the film? That was just a theory that I had. Because James Wan isn't a bad director by any means. Technically, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's over-enthusiastic at times.
Yes.
I was just wondering if that was just kind of adding texture to it.
Possibly.
Yeah, that was just a theory that I came up with. Yeah. So and it builds and builds. But when it started to get really interesting for me, the infestation was when I call him Tiny Tim. He's like a 19th century newsboy, hear all about it.
Yeah.
And
he's just there.
He's in the
dancing.
And because she changes the music, she goes outside and she looks in and he's dancing.
Yeah, and then she's like, what the fuck? And then goes and sees through a different window. So it's the same room, just from a different angle, and there's nothing there.
Yeah. And then he pops out of the closet at one point.
Yeah.
And then she's just kind of, if I saw that, I would be like, no, out now. Or perhaps run off to try and find Tiny Tim.
Yeah.
But we covered that. That Tiny, the little newsboy, page boy, whatever he was. Yeah, I thought that was fantastic, that moment. Okay, so that's anything else you wanted to say about the start before Lin Shaye and her two cohorts arrive?
I liked the bit that was, they come into the room and you see, there's the baby's crib. And they've got this kind of mesh, it's a sheer material, and behind it there's that guy there, standing there.
Yeah. And
that's such a good scare, in my opinion, because it isn't a jump scare, but it's something that's oh fuck, there's a guy there.
Yeah.
That's the intended reaction from the audience.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff doesn't get me, but that's the intended reaction. I like those kinds of scares that relies on you to actually notice it. I mean, there is a musical stinger to it, but it isn't something that is the kind that you expect from a jump scare. And that's another thing. Majority of the jump scares in it, there are jump scares in this movie, but they don't feel obnoxious to me.
Okay. I found them over exuberant at times,
but they're not
Given the nature of Lipstick Face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's a little bit
suits
over the
it,
top. Like if you view it, you know, with it being a little bit fantastical, a little bit over the top kind of thing, then it's like, you know what? Fine. If that's the mood of this film, then fine.
And it also like Lipstick Face is very kinetic, is very violent, is very aggressive, and those banging on the door, that's suited the way he would basically haunt this place based on his character nature that we've observed.
And then the bit when they're talking with Patrick Wilson's character, his mother, and she's there saying, oh, you know, I came around because I had this dream, and blah blah, and she's saying that she went into Dalton's room, and it shows like what her dream looked like, and you know, open the door further, and then you see like in the far corner there's his silhouette, and just that kind of just reaching out with the long claws and pointing, like that's so good.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, stylistically, so the artistic moments to convey the other side and what it contains within, were done really, really well. No, I can't disagree with that at all. And speaking of an aggressive infestation, when you see Trenchcoat Man,
that guy, he's really aggressive. And
really
he's just
fucking
like,
aggressive, yeah. And when he was outside the window, walking past quick, and then it's in the room, quick.
Really, I really like that.
So it is a definite flip on The Conjuring, the way they did it, from slow and subtle to fast, aggressive in your face.
Yeah.
Colouring, the colouring of the light, lighting and colouring. It was how did it work? It was a light blue with a tinge of green within reality a lot of the time, and then within the further it flipped to more green and a tinge of blue. Did you notice they basically flipped the colour scale there?
Yeah.
Which was fine. And the way they just used lantern light, dark shadows and haze smoke for the further. Very simple, very effective, shot in the same goddamn house, but it's another world entirely. That was cool. Further's good. Further is
I think also because the way the lighting choice that they have for the further, that gives it that really sort of otherworldly, eerie feeling.
Absolutely.
And then because it's so like dark,
absolutely,
you know, you're in that void. And then obviously when they're in Lipstick Face's little lair, it's this intense like red lighting, which makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably my favourite part of the film, but we'll get to that. Okay, so first time around I was kind of watching it, the episode, okay, but it's all good, because then Shay arrived. And it was just like, and then the energy, I don't know if you picked it up, the energy of the film is just boosted. Yeah, she just chews up the scene, she controls it entirely.
I think also in part because there's just something about her that just, she feels trustworthy.
She really does.
And she feels like if she's there, you feel like you're safe.
Yes.
She has that energy. She has that vibe to her.
And what is she in this film? 60 at least? Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's not an age thing or anything like that. Yeah. But you feel safe from her, from the 60-year-old woman, from everything, human or otherwise, is what this woman is able to pull off. Yeah. No, she's absolutely fantastic. And of course, she is accompanied by Specs and Tucker, who are paranormal investigators. One of them is Lee Winnell, and the other one, what was his name again?
Angus Sampson.
Yes, and they are fantastic because the rivalry between these two.
Yeah. They're just like, just little things here and there, and just
tiptoe through the window, by the window, that is where all become tiptoe through the tulips.
Like, the things that I do and this equipment that I have is fantastic, and it's like, nah, that's a modified toy, but okay, go on.
Do you know what a viewfinder is?
Yes, I do. That's literally what it is.
I had those when I was 5.
But an issue that I do, like, as much as I love it, I do genuinely love it, I feel that the comedic energy that they bring to it, up until that point in the movie didn't really have that level of comedy.
Okay, yeah.
And so it felt a little bit disjoint, like out of place.
That's fair.
I do still enjoy it.
You have a point.
But it just, in terms of the overall tone of the movie, even with Lipstick Face being camp as hell and all that kind of stuff and over the top.
Yeah, but that's more disturbing.
Yeah, exactly. But the rest of the movie, even though it has that fantastical kind of feel to it, it is still, for the most part, playing it straight. And then there's really like moments of comedy.
Yeah.
and then you have these two characters come in and their interaction with each other, and then being a little bit bumbling and putting their foot in it kind of thing, doesn't quite mesh with the tone of the rest of the movie.
Fair. Yeah, fair.
But I mean, I still liked it.
Yeah, so did I.
I still enjoy it, but there is that.
Because they are going for it. I mean, there is literally put lay your dicks on the table. Who's got the biggest torch?
Yeah,
scene.
literally, yeah.
It isn't that
Yeah.
blatant, yeah. But I liked it. But good point. Praise Lynn Shay, yes. She has the what was it, Elise Rayner, or however they pronounced it.
Yeah.
Rainer. We say Rainer. They say Rainer. Some sort of weird American way.
I know.
It's my mother's maiden name.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I just, it doesn't mean anything. It's just like, yeah. We're related. Okay. Where are we? Okay. Now, Dylan goes into a coma. I wanted to talk to you about this bit because the first time watching it, I was like, that's fucking bad editing. But second time, I missed that point because he goes up to the attic of the new house, yes?
Yeah.
And the mother's up there and he climbs up a ladder. The mother in a previous scene's already seen there's a broken rung, on the ladder. He climbs up and falls down. But there is a moment where there's something creeping in the shadows.
Yeah.
Yes, I missed that the first time round because the first time round I saw him drop to the ground, and then there's the new baby that goes doing all that shit downstairs, and then about 3 minutes later he screams and they rush up, and it was like, what? That's a 3-minute break between what the causality of that is off. But then I saw the creep in the shadow and the sound. And what Dalton was actually screaming at was not falling down, but was this thing. Yeah. So that was a very nice touch, and Dalton seemed to cover it up. He didn't want to talk about what he had said. He said, I fell off the ladder, sure. Yeah.
Also, the first night, I don't know if it's the first night exactly, but like the first time you see like Dalton tucked into bed in this new house that they moved into, you can see like some of his walls in his bedroom and his drawings on the walls. He's already got that drawing on there of him saying, like, last night I saw myself asleep and then I flew away. Like, it's already on there.
Yeah.
This isn't something that was put on there, like, later on.
No.
And just like, it's part of the set design.
Absolutely.
For his bedroom.
Yes, absolutely. And I like the little touch when he fell off and they put him in bed. And it's just a close up of the drawing just to have him as a superhero.
Yeah.
You may be a superhero, but you're not invincible.
Yeah.
But this is revealed to be so much more as we go, because Lynn Shay comes along and all the three of them together, the paranormal investigators, say, your house is haunted as fuck. At the end of the day, so that's when they get Elise to come in, and she confirms, and she says that your son's astral projector is a traveller, and then she says that he has gone into the further.
Yeah.
Have you ever astral projected?
As far as I know, I have not.
No. Okay.
So
Just curious, yeah. Because growing up, I did have nightmare terror. I had night terrors growing up, not to any huge extent. But sleep when you're a kid, dreams and such. I don't know for you, wild, fertile playground of the imagination. Did you dream that much, nightmare that much?
not that I remember.
Okay. Just curious. That's cool.
I don't remember.
Okay. But that's how he has gone into the further, yeah? But Dad doesn't know that he himself did it when he was a kid, even though the second time viewing I saw the black and white shots of him in the bed. Yeah.
Which I assume, like, first time viewing, the intent is to misdirect the audience.
That's Dalton.
To make them assume that that's Dalton.
But it's not.
Yeah, because then when you have that reveal that Josh, Patrick Wilson's character, did that when he was younger, it's the same footage that's shown that you have seen previously.
Yeah, absolutely. And the mum gives away, Dad's mum gives away a very big clue. You
When
actually
they
got
take the
Josh
photo.
to stand still in a photo.
Yeah. Because at the beginning, the mother, Renee, she's looking at these like family photos of her when she was younger, and one of her kids, I can't remember, they have 3 children, I'm like, I don't know which one, but one of them's come down and, you know, looking through them with her. And like, oh, you know, I want to see some photos of Dad when he was young, when he was younger. And she's like, oh, we don't have any of them. I don't know why. And it turns out it's because he doesn't like getting his photo taken. And then later on, his mother sees, oh, I can't believe you actually managed to get him to sit still for a photo. But and the way she's looking, if first time viewing, you wouldn't really, you'd be like, okay, what's going on there? But once you know, it's like, oh, that's why she's got that reaction upon looking at this photo, but the audience is never shown what the photo is either.
Yeah, and why that is, just to not miss out on anything, Dad's a skeptic this whole time. He loves his wife. That's why the investigators have come in. He's allowed it, He even moved again for her after soon moving into the house, moved again quickly because he does love the wife. But he is a skeptic, suppressing his own memories, suppressed memories, which is slightly coming to the fore. You can see through his expressions. That's why I thought he was quite a good actor the second time around, with what he was working with. His brief there was quite complicated and nuanced. I thought, well done, sir. After she's explained it further, and what do they suggest to do? I think, do they do the gas mask seance thing before then? Yeah. Okay, question then.
Okay, when they were setting up for that seance and were showing all the equipment, they're like, this is giving me Saw vibes because of the close-up shots of the equipment was in a way that felt like shots of like traps and all that kind of stuff, and then also it had like some really quick cuts as well that felt very Saw. Like it wasn't like a one-to-one comparison, but it was more because it's Leigh Whannell and James Wan. You see that kind of thing. He was also credited as the editor for the film as well. For James Wan for Insidious. But so because you have those two people involved in Insidious, you can't help but draw that comparison.
And also, you know, like they have a working repertoire for whatever phase of production they're working with. You're going to repeat things. You know, you have your own style. You're going to repeat things. But good point. Now, because she's just basically, with this gas mask seance thing, she's just testing the grounds of the further at this stage.
Trying to establish some lines of communication, trying to connect with Dalton and have a conversation with him.
And of course what we heard in the baby monitor is heard through the gas mask as well, because her specs work together in that
so
way.
he's listening to what he can hear through the gas mask.
Why the gas mask?
I'm not sure. Just because it looks cool like
that was it? That was
Why
it
not?
entirely?
Stylistic choice. There's a lot of stylistic choices in this movie.
Was it almost goofy to you, the gas mask?
I mean, yeah, but also like it looks cool.
It does look cool. Okay.
I'll give it a pass.
We're on the same page.
So Leigh Whannell's character is hearing what's happening and he's verbally like conveying what is being said, but also writing it down. I really liked the escalation of that because he's essentially writing down what he's hearing from what Dalton is saying in response to what Lin Shaye is saying to try to communicate with him. But then over the course of that, you know, it's like, oh no, I can't talk because if I do, they'll hear me. You know, they're gonna hurt me. Blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. You know, no, you know, help me. But then it turns into just all this really, really violent stuff, and the way that he's writing it as well.
We assume lip face, he takes over the conversation at that point.
And just the way that it's shot. So the audience isn't hearing those words. We're just seeing it being scrawled like really, really hurriedly, and the writing is getting more and more messy and taking up more space.
And it gets more more explicit.
You know, it starts out with calling them a bitch and a whore and all that kind of stuff, and then it says saying, I'm gonna rip out your innards and eat them and all that kind of stuff. And
explicit. And just showing that on paper and writing. Because Leigh Whannell, he's good on screen. He's good on screen. He's not a bad reactor himself. That was done really well.
I really, really liked that.
And the way actually, dovetailing on that, when Elise first sees Lipstick Face in the corner of the room and he comes along and starts drawing, because he draws everything that she sees. And it's
And because like where she's looking at is like it's pitch black, there's no lighting there, and she's just saying like, because she's psychic, this is what it is that she's seeing, and he's just frantically drawing it all, and the audience doesn't see any of that. What it is that she's seeing, all that we see is this drawing that's happening.
Untrue. Yeah. And does she reveal it when she's talking about the demons that are trying to get in? I think the drawing. Oh no, it's shown on camera just after he's finished drawing, isn't it? So the haunting is definitely established. She's said everything about the further. You have all these peppering in that has happened in the past with the dad, and but the dad is still a skeptic, still doesn't believe even after this stage, and it is into going back to the pictures on the wall. He's at Dalton's bed saying, "You got to come back, buddy. You got to come back to me."
And then, I know you can hear me. Give me a sign. And then in the background, one of the pictures falls down.
Beautifully so. That Dalton is drawn of lipstick face. And then
lipstick face and a bunch of other stuff that Lynn Shay has talked about.
You have a red door.
Sort of, confirming to Patrick
red circle
Wilson.
with black eyes, sort of thing. And because it's got a wide shot of all the pictures now, and it's going. In my dreams, I flew away last night. What was the final one that cemented it in his brain that it was true? The final bit of text, if you remember.
Because that drawing was like
it was the superhero drawing.
Because it was like last night I watched myself sleep. And then so it was like a drawing of him like lying in bed, and then a line through the center of the bit of paper, and then a drawing of him like in the night sky with his little superhero cape, and it says, "And then I flew away."
Point being that he gets it, that he's an astral projector and he has flown away and he hasn't come back. And you've seen lipstick face there, which was already shown by Specs and Elise.
We did also see him earlier when the Patrick Wilson's mum explains what it is that Renee is saying is true because I've seen it before, and when she explains the dream that she had and all that. At one point, the shot it's from her perspective, so she's looking at Patrick Wilson, and directly behind his head. So essentially, you're seeing about like that much of lipstick face behind him, and he's there, and that freaks her out. But like that moment is in the trailer and in a lot of promotional material for the film. As in, if you were to search for the movie on Google or whatever, almost every single image that you find will be that shot.
Okay, you got to stop doing that.
That's why I typically don't watch trailers.
We're getting sick of the trailers.
I typically don't watch trailers.
There's a much more subtle way to do it. You can actually tell a little story with a trailer that relates to the film without showing what it's about. And certainly don't show the main players in the scares until they're actually revealed within the film. Otherwise, they're not scares.
I have. The Pet Sematary remake.
I didn't bother.
Oh my god! Like. They try to do like this is a whole other tangent, but like basically they did like a whole like reversal on like which child gets killed. So instead of being Gage, the small boy, it's the older daughter.
Okay.
She's the one that gets killed.
Right.
Okay, that's cool.
That's fine.
But literally all the promotional material for the movie is showing that. The fact that it's the daughter that's...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then also...
They had the truck, didn't they?
The truck bit, right?
I remember.
It's in this remake, the truck is happening and it's Gage going out onto the road. You're like, oh, okay. And then it doesn't happen, but then Ellie ends up getting killed. So the filmmakers are intentionally wanting to do that bait and switch.
Yeah, to get you into
it. But then the trailer reveals all of that. There's also an iconic bit in the original film with the slice on the Achilles tendon, right? There's another bait and switch in this remake. So the scene happens where it happens in the original movie. You're expecting it to happen, and it doesn't. And then a little bit later, that's when it happens. Unfortunately, that is also in the fucking trailer.
God damn it, people, what are you doing? Yeah, just, work it out. Do better. Do better. Okay. And so the father knows all, He's even been revealed that this was him in his past at this stage. Still
Yeah.
doesn't believe
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
he sees
He was-
the photos.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he saw the kids' drawings, yeah?
Yeah, and so his past, his mum tells him that when he was around about 8, he had some awful night terrors, blah blah blah, and then it just got worse and worse, and she ended up calling Elise, and she came in and sorted it all out, but there was this like old woman in this like black like veil kind of thing who was like stalking him
It's
when
valid,
he was
Yes, it's a veil.
when he was a
Like
child, and in all these photos taken of him, she's getting closer and closer, and how they dealt with that was suppressing his memories and don't ever take photos of him again, and that's why he doesn't like getting his photo taken.
That photo sequence was cool.
Yeah.
They were getting closer and
Yeah.
closer. Yeah, Valak is a creepy bitch. And that was done
Yeah.
very well. And the music was
Yeah.
very good again in the score, okay, now we're onto the supernatural being caught on film and photos. That seems to be a given in this film. That supernatural, every shot, if they're in the background, they're caught
And
on
it's not
film.
like an orb, it's a full body apparition.
Absolutely.
Like maybe it's a little out of focus, but like, that's a person.
Yeah, because that's
Maybe if I sharpen it up a little bit in Photoshop, a little bit of like clarity and dehaze and stuff like that in Lightroom, I might be able to actually like have a full photo ID of this ghost.
yeah. Again,
But sure, okay.
Great ideas, just a bit over exuberant with them. Yeah. Still creepy though, so we like. I'm pretty sure this is not the case. Tiny Tim and Trench Coat are separate. Lipstick Face and Trench Coat are separate. They just shared a few scenes, sort of thing, and there is a switching of voices. I was wondering if Lipstick Face was able to manifest itself as other. But then no, because
he feels too theatrical.
He does.
So he feels too vain
Yeah,
to try to be someone else.
No, he wouldn't do
Because
that.
he's a little bit too...
No, you're right. And Elise does say there's a whole bunch of babies trying to get in because she goes, they're the ones who just want life. What was the second layer? The second hierarchy? The ones who want to get into, was it to cause harm to Dalton? Something like that.
Yeah.
But and then those who just want to cause pain
As
to
much
the world,
pain as possible.
pain as possible. And then I forget the actual, structuring of it. I loved how Lynn Shay said, and then there's this.
Yeah.
And then pulls up Lipstick Face. Yeah.
But he's just so like over the top and campy.
Yeah.
Like even that's one of the reasons why he gives me Freddy Krueger vibes. Like also like he has his long claws. There's one bit where he's there like filing them down, and he's just the way he looks and all
That's
that.
up
Like
in his
just,
workshop up above.
Yeah.
And he's got the full tiptoe through the tulips.
And he's just hanging out
And
there.
then he's grinding some sort of knife or it's nails or something.
And then I love that like when Dalton's like, oh no, he's looking at us, and you just turn around, and there he is, like looking down at them through the window, and he's just standing there like this,
forked tongue, yes,
like posing.
No.
He's so dramatic.
It's a proper thespian, actually. He's very
him.
look at me.
Pay attention to me, please.
Definitely.
Oh, that's obvious. Because like his little studio feels very much like an actor's space.
Absolutely, yes.
You
A
know?
dressing room.
Yeah.
Oh, it even has, like the picture of Dalton, it even
Yeah.
has him in his dressing room because it has the lights around the
Yeah,
mirror.
it does.
Of
It
any
does.
proper
Yeah.
Hollywood Broadway
Yeah.
diva.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, maybe his face really is lipstick.
Yeah.
He's
That's-
just gotten the
that's face
lipstick
it
and
puts
just
on.
smeared all over his face. Who knows?
Does Lipstick Face come back in the others? I don't
No.
remember. We need
No.
to bring him back.
Yeah. Oh, that would be.
We need
amazing.
to bring him back.
Yes.
He was the
Yeah.
star of
Yeah.
this. Yeah, absolutely. What else have I got here? A lot of whistling in this movie.
Yeah.
You notice that?
Mm.
Yeah, because when the first kind of violent act that Dad sees within the further, their family, the shotgun massacre of the family by Smiley, who respects first sees. Yeah.
That because it's very like they're just sitting there and not moving, and just the makeup as well, the way their faces are painted is very like
Victorian
theatrical.
corpse-like
It's very
as well.
theatrical
Very
as well.
theatrical,
In terms of like the eyeliner around the eyes that makes the eyes look a lot bigger. That's a theatre makeup trick.
Totally.
But the fact that they're just kind of sitting there with these big fake grins on their face and not moving at all kind of thing. And then he moves away, you hear the sounds of the shotgun.
Yeah.
And then you come back and now they're like dead and slumped
Yeah.
over, kind of thing.
Very
and,
mannequin-like.
Yeah.
No blood. There was no blood
Yeah.
or gore in that. And then and then he goes away and he looks back and they're right in front of him and they do that.
Yeah, yeah. It's so cheesy. It's so cheesy, but like it's fun.
It's fun.
And that's why I
It's
like this
totally
movie.
fun.
That's why I like it.
And there's other
It's
moments
fun.
like that. Elise goes, they're trying to break through into our world. Next shot, open closet
Yeah.
doors, 17 of them in the car, in the closet, grinning.
We're here.
It's like,
Here we are.
jump scare James.
Yeah.
That's what I wrote
Yeah.
down in here. Jump scare James.
Yeah.
Now, Lee Winnell wrote the script.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, I think the ideas in the script was better than the execution on screen.
Yeah.
Yes. Not this in the presentation on screen. Again, lots of fun, but really great ideas. Yeah. Were written onto paper. Is Lee Winnell the secret creative force behind the two of them? Not the secret. No. The more, the real creative force. Yeah. Behind them.
Because I'm trying to think, like, comparing the James Wan films that I can remember well enough in my head versus the Lee Winnell films. I mean, this is probably more subjective than anything else, but I definitely do prefer Lee Winnell's movies to James Wan
movies. Can you name a few for the children? Can you name a few of the
So obviously the James Wan ones, that's all, Conjuring stuff. I don't know exactly what he did for Dead Silence, but that one was a fun one. That's a fun little campy, cheesy thing. But Lee Winnell, I adored Upgrade.
Yeah,
that one's very like cyberpunk-y
check it out if you
kind
haven't.
of.
Great Australian film.
Yeah, fantastic that one. Invisible Man with Elizabeth Moss.
Really fucking good.
Adored that one.
That's a mainstream hit as well. That went through to the mainstream.
He's working on production has started for him doing a remake in the same way that he did Invisible Man. He's now working on The Wolfman, which I'm really excited for.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a much more subtle.
A lot of Lee Winnell
work,
Lee Winnell's movies have a little nod to Saw in them as well. There's one in Upgrade. There's one in Invisible Man. In Upgrade, it's some graffiti on a wall of Billy the Puppet, his face. There's a similar kind of graffiti on a wall in a parking lot in Invisible Man of Billy the Puppet. Billy the Puppet is in Dead Silence. There's a lot of puppets in that one. There's a room.
That's pre-Saw.
No.
Is it after?
After.
Okay, come on, sorry.
And there's a lot of puppets in that one, and there's a room where there's a whole bunch of them, and you can spot Billy the Puppet in that. But something that I noticed in Insidious, so Patrick Wilson's character is a school teacher, and there's a scene where he is in the classroom. He's got the chalkboard behind him, and you can see a little doodle on a little drawing on that chalkboard, and it's once again of Billy the Puppet. His little face.
Yeah, that's great. It's an Easter egg of his own creation.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in seeing where it's going to be in The Wolfman. Like when I saw Invisible Man, I'm like, I know it's going to be in here. I wonder where it's going to be. And then when I saw it, I'm like, there it is.
Where is it in The Invisible Man?
When she's pulling out of the parking lot, escaping from the hospital.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Like, so, as in, like, the car headlights shine on a wall.
Yeah.
And it's part of the graffiti on the wall.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I felt like, that meme of Leonardo DiCaprio, like, pointing.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
me. That's me every single time.
Yeah, on the couch.
Yeah.
Once upon a time in Hollywood.
That's me.
Fucking hell. Okay, that's so cool. Yeah. We like Easter eggs. They're certainly horror Easter eggs. That's for us. That is totally for us. Yeah, so I won't make I need to watch more, I need to think about it more. But that is a valid theory. That is a valid suggestion.
Yeah.
But it is subjective as well, because if you like jump scare, spooky, jump scare,
I mean, you can also argue that depending on who else is involved in the making of that movie and what impact they've had on the overall film, that also plays a role, because like I associate a lot of Blumhouse films, a lot of stuff that has Jason Blum as a producer I associate that with PG-13 horror that is primarily jump scares. A lot of, like, I mean, Get Out, for instance, that's a Blumhouse movie.
Yes.
So, like, you know, just because it's a Blumhouse movie, that doesn't mean that it's that kind of
Oh,
thing.
how do you mean it's a Blumhouse movie?
As in, that's a production company.
No, that's Monkey Paw.
Yeah, Monkey Paw and Blumhouse.
Oh, you're right. Apologies. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a co-joined
Yeah.
thing, wasn't it?
So
Yeah,
there are Blumhouse movies
Yeah.
that are not that kind of PG-13 jump scare kind of mass appeal kind of film, but I associate that production company with that type of film.
And we have seen that now that he's joined forces with blah blah, because his is Atomic Monster. He's now officially joined forces with Blumhouse as well. And as we've discussed, children with imaginary and Night Swim, but let's not even talk about that again. Let's focus on imaginary. The PG-13 thing. For me, my fear is that this is becoming Disneyfied. But we've discussed go back and have a look at Imaginary. We go into detail with it. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I haven't seen Imaginary.
Okay, yeah. If you do, let me know. Because I do have a fear that the PG thing is becoming more infested.
PG-13 horror. I feel that it has always gotten a bad rap.
It can be done well, but it's often
absolutely.
a death knell for
it's
a lot
just
of
that a
films
lot
and
of the
creators.
time, again, it's because it's made with the intent of to appeal to as wide an audience as possible, and so that means that for people who are actually into horror, it's not going to appeal to them quite as much.
Absolutely.
And then obviously those are the films that make the most money, and so they're going to continue making those movies, and then movies that actually get a cinema release are the ones that are going to make the money back.
Okay.
And that's why we have that issue, and that's why it's frustrating. But also, like, I want more interesting, cool stuff from Blumhouse, because in that we've been talking about gateway horror. People who their introduction to horror is this kind of PG-13 jump scare heavy type horror, they're not really liking it. And then they might say, hey, like, what other stuff is coming out of this production company? And then venture in from that. Because I know that a lot of people, the mainstream stuff that's coming out of from A24, for instance, has, you know, the ones that have been really successful, a lot of people gone, oh, okay, that's something that everyone's talking about, I'm going to watch it. And then, oh, I actually really like that. What other A24 stuff is out there? And then have gone into and seen some really fucking weird shit that they otherwise would not have ever seen.
Absolutely. I do prefer the way A24 opens up people's minds to horror, but that is subjective. My fear, though, to explain it more clearly or a bit more in-depthly, with the Disneyfication of horror, because the PG-13 movies make money, and so they don't want to upset people because they don't get a higher rating. But I don't like the idea of censoring horror, because it's about, you know, basically getting all of this dark stuff out here and dealing with through the creation of art. It's not for everyone, of course, so that's why you have a rating system, all that sort of thing, so you know not to show teen kids and all that sort of thing. But we can't just paint horror with a broad brush of PG censorship to get to the point where it becomes Disneyfied. But I think what my fear is because there are the taboos of horror. The people have decided that there needs to be taboos with horror of recent times, and people get more and more upset about it. But no, not more and more upset. It's become more of a culture, to have these taboos in horror. Of course, the two big ones: don't kill kids, don't kill animals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tree and tiptoe through the tulips with me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And for me, as long as no actual kids or animals die, of course, because it's all about consent. This is in the 60s and 70s doing exploitation stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there needs to be, I'm just worried that the mainstream PG perception of these movies, which act as gateway horrors, is going to stifle people into exploring the darker parts of horror creation, the darker creators and movies out there. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's my fear, because I always go back to when evil lurks. Kid dies horribly by an animal, then the animal dies.
Tossed around like a rag doll by the face.
But the people who love the horror and, you know, who are sensitive, nice people, because most of us fucking are, believe it or not. We're not comedians, they're the real dark ones.
I mean,
they loved it, and they went like, oh, they shouldn't be shown, this should be cancelled. It's like, no, this is how you do a horror scene with, and like, because they basically presented, Demian Rugner presented these taboos and basically just exploded.
I mean, like, that's,
but it was justified and in context of the whole story.
Because it's one thing if it's like justifiable and like, okay, that makes sense, I understand why that happened, as opposed to just doing it for the sake of being shocking. Unless that's the point of the film, obviously.
Yes, and we shouldn't decry that. We should take away from the creator's point.
Horror movies having stuff in it that makes you say, that's fucked up, that's making me feel incredibly uncomfortable and fucked up, is kind of the point.
Thank you.
So, I mean, obviously, you know, like if there's stuff in a movie that like you personally are like, I don't want to be exposed to that, then like, don't watch the movie. But that doesn't mean that like this piece of art, simply because it's something that makes you uncomfortable, it means that it doesn't deserve to exist.
And you treat act accordingly, treat it respectfully, and who you're showing it to.
Exactly.
It's just like, hey, you seen Last House on the Left? That's pretty great. No, sit down.
It's like, okay, this is what the genre is, so you're not going into it completely blind. It's a rape revenge film.
How do you, since we're on the subject, what's your feeling with rape in films and horror films? Let's just stick to that,
It depends on, again, like the context.
Exactly,
absolutely. And the way in which that it's shot.
Yes.
Sometimes rape in films is shot in a way that it's really obvious that it's just done for the sake of being gratuitous.
And to get off the male gaze of the
and
male
that's
director.
And then it's like, okay, I don't care. But if it's done in a way that, the way that it's shot isn't like gratuitous or like it makes sense as much as it can for the sake of the story, character arc, whatever, then okay, you know, that's the thing that's happening, sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you seen the movie Revenge?
Yeah, I was about to mention it.
Yeah,
go ahead.
That's a fantastic. That is a rape revenge movie, but the rape itself happens off screen.
Yeah, pretty much.
You hear it.
Yeah.
But you don't actually see it.
You see,
but it is a rape revenge film.
You'll see a bit of like the hair, shoulder, but mostly what's focusing is the raper guy, who's a fucking disgusting beast. He's eating chocolate. What's shown explicitly is him chewing on the chocolate.
Which, I mean, is a visual metaphor, let's be real.
We all get it, so we need to go into detail. So that's an excellent way to do it, because it needed to happen for her to go on this revenge rampage, But it doesn't have to be. I'm not dissing on the old movies though either. That was just the time. But there are different ways to do it nowadays where we don't. How long was fucking I Spit on Your Grave? 20, 25 minutes?
Oh yeah, it was like a half-hour assault sequence.
Yeah.
And my opinion of that is that the original one, the assault scene is far more brutal than the revenge that she gets on her rapist versus the remake, where I feel that the inverse is the case.
Yes. Did you like the remake?
It was fine.
I liked it for that reason. You just pointed out.
In that the rape, the assault that she has to deal with, in comparison to the revenge that she takes, the revenge is far more brutal. Which I think is interesting.
No. I thought it was a valid way to play with that original source material. Definitely, I actually quite liked it, and I thought that Last House on the Left.
That's the Wes Craven one.
But the remake I thought was alright as well. I actually thought that was pretty cool as well. But we digress. There is no killing of kids, animals, or rape in Insidious.
No.
Just
They don't even have a dog. They don't have any pets.
No.
That's how much there's no animal death in this. There's no pets.
This kid, this movie, you could show to your, like, I don't know, whatever age you're the parents, but if they show a proclivity for horror, this is an absolute gateway horror. You feel comfortable saying that? Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it might make them a little bit afraid to go to sleep. Because like Dalton ends up in this situation because he's astral projecting while he's sleeping. So they could have some issues about their dreams and sleeping.
Freddy Krueger's far worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Along those lines.
But like outside of that.
Yeah. So there you go. What else did I have? I put here, I don't know if you agree or if I agree at this stage, but I was, watching it on my had my legal medicine last night and watching it again and went, one is kind of like Clive Barker. You've read Barker?
Yeah.
And stuff is like brimming with, like, not the best execution, but brimming with creativity, like imagination that puts them in the top tier of fantasists, if you will. Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I'm always going to have a bit of a soft spot for James Wan because he's Australian, and also him and Lee Winnell, they were the people who brought us Saw. So I'm always going to have a soft spot for anything involving James Wan and Lee Winnell for that reason.
And if you've just joined us, by the way, we're doing the Horror Iceberg. This is the gateway tier. It's going to get much thicker and darker the deeper we go. But after this, we're going to do Saw. And
Saw is tier 2.
Oh, that's on tier 2?
Yeah.
No, but what I mean is we're going to go through all the Saw movies and we're going to walk through them all trap by trap. Absolutely.
I'm so ready.
Maybe we can get it done before 11 because that's next year.
Yeah, because that's been pushed back.
And thank you, creators, for giving yourself some time and breathing space to create a good movie rather than, X was really successful. Go!
As much as I'm like saying like, yes, let's go back to that time period back when like the Saw franchise would be a new Saw movie every Halloween. Like, yes, let's go back to that. Bring us back to that. But then also like, no, don't rush things, don't push yourself.
Because we saw what happened when they rushed.
So like, I'm saying it jokingly because I'm like, no, I want people to be able to have appropriate working conditions so then they can make stuff that is actually good and that they're actually proud of. That's what I want. So if it means that this movie has to get pushed back, that's fine. I accept that.
Absolutely, yes. And is he coming back? Is Tobin Bell coming back? Do we
know? I don't know.
Please bring him back.
Because I don't think we know anything about 11 just yet.
No, it's different writers to 10.
Which will be... because the story for 10 was what made it so good. Because it's very, very story focused.
Yes, and then Tobin Bell as an actor, he just related to it so much.
Oh God.
And it made you feel sorry and empathetic for him.
He carried that entire movie on his 80-year-old shoulders.
He became one of my acting heroes in that movie. It's like, you're
he's fantastic.
If I could interview him.
Oh,
anyway, let's not gush too much. All right, we're kind of at the end of the film. Because he saves the kid. He does say, but wait. First of all, before we get there, is there anything you wanted to say about the further, any moments? I've covered my favourites with Shotgun Family Massacre and Tiptoe in the dressing room.
I mean, that's about it, really.
But he gets the kid back. We think love is going to save the day, like at the end of the Conjuring, because even the torch comes onto Dalton's face and he wakes up and it's the gentle piano refrain, gathered around the table, he's eating all the spaghetti bolognese.
So much spaghetti. Just huffing it down. I mean, he hasn't actually properly eaten in 3 months. He's been in a coma for 3 months.
As well, they eat like
and he's just been fed with a feeding tube.
Yes.
So fair enough.
And then he's joking with the mum, I want to go to sleep. You're never sleeping again. You are never going to sleep again. Which is very sweet, but the sweetness soon sours. This was a very interesting moment. Again, as with the photos. Elise and the dad. It's Josh, the dad. I won't need these anymore because he's looking at the pictures of Valak. It's going to show me a whole new world. I've come to terms with this. I can move on. Hands it over to
She gives him a weird look. She's like...
There's
Yeah,
a little
'cause she's
sound.
psychic.
There's
Yeah,
one of
there's
those little.
something going on.
And there's
The
a sound
audience-
cue of like, whoa,
Yeah,
this
but
ain't
the
quite
audience
right.
doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
And then she reaches over to like, you know, grab something, but then instead grabs a camera and quick takes a photo of him, and he flips the fuck out. Why did you do that? Why the fuck would you go and do something like that when you know how I feel about it? He just goes and strangles her. He's there screaming at her while he's strangling her. He's in the other room.
I know.
Right? Like, he's like the
Spatial
other family.
dynamics
The other
people.
you know, the rest of the family with Dalton eating his spaghetti.
Yeah.
And he's there screaming and choking Lin Shay. And they can't hear that.
They hear her.
Yeah, they hear some thuds. Like, huh, what's going on there? Take Dalton, I'm going to go and check it out, see what's happening.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Over enthusiastic.
Yeah.
That's still great. Yeah. So Mum comes in, Lin Shay. Yeah, no, she's just
she's dead.
in a state of rigor mortis.
Yeah. Yeah. She's apparently been dead for a bit of time. Rigor mortis, super pale, blue lips, everything like.
And then there's a flashback to what we've just seen, but what Elise
Lin Shay,
actually saw.
Yeah. The hand as he handed those photos to her. His hand wasn't Patrick Wilson's hand. No. And so there's something spooky going on there.
And then I think before the big reveal, because the holder of the hand says something. Did you notice that they changed Elise's voice like that to kind of match the what was going on with the gas mask and all that sort of thing? Yeah, just for that little moment, just to further emphasise, this ain't right. And then big reveal, lo and behold, Valak.
Yeah.
Yes, and Valak becomes the big bad for the.
Yeah, that's the sequel.
The second.
The second film.
Yeah, we'll just say second for now. Yeah. Absolutely, and then rushes at Elise. So we've seen that strangled. Then Mum enters. Yes. At the very end again, because she's seen Elise, and she picks up the camera. Yeah. She sees Valak in the camera because all this sort of supernatural culture on film. Yeah.
And that's when the movie ends.
Up. Tap on shoulder.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Josh is dead.
Yeah.
I'm here. What's the mother's name?
Renee.
I'm here, Renee.
Yeah.
Turn around.
Yeah. And that's where it ends.
And then big red font, Insidious strings.
Yeah. Oh, it's so just over dramatic. It's so like, no, we're doing this big over dramatic spooky movie. Like the opening credits are very spooky, and the opening titles, big massive red font saying Insidious and these intense strings. It's like, okay, that's what we're in for.
Was this just to move away from the stylization and the whole approach to the Conjuring, as you said at the very start, basically? Yeah. So love does not...
Stylistically, a massive difference.
Yeah, and love does not save the day. Yeah. This is not a happy ending with this one at all.
Yeah. Also, when we were talking about The Conjuring last week, I was there saying, like, oh yeah, you know, sure, it ends really happy, and here's this family, and everything's happy now. Let's ignore the fact that, like, Mum was possessed and tried to kill us. That's fine, there's no trauma ongoing from that. In Insidious Chapter 2, the sequel, it directly continues on from that. So you have Patrick Wilson being possessed and trying to kill the family. The most recent one, The Red Door, is continuing on that storyline, however many years later. They're traumatized. The parents are divorced. Dalton is estranged from Josh. And so essentially that's what The Red Door is about. It's about them kind of overcoming that trauma and sort of trying to heal from what happened in the events of Insidious Chapter 2.
Because in the further, there's a big ass red door.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I'm going to have to watch them all again.
Yeah.
However,
I mean, if you... the fourth one, The Last Key, I think, pretty sure that's what it's called. That's
Skeleton.
No. That's entirely it's just Lin Shay. It's her character Elise and her backstory. It's just about her. That's what that movie is. So
I want to watch that. Because even though I found these very over-exuberant, it's an over-exuberant film, it's still fun, and I still want to see more. I still definitely want to see more.
It was fun. Yeah,
Does
I
it
think
have
that's the reason why I prefer it to The Conjuring. Because
Does it have a better
yeah.
legacy than does it have a better lineage? Has it continued on with the sequels and maintained its essence, if you will, more so than The Conjuring? Because Conjuring 3 got a bit...
Yeah. I haven't, with the exception of me rewatching Insidious today,
Yeah.
all of the movies in the Insidious franchise, I either watched them in cinemas when they came out, or shortly after they came out.
Do we need
And
to
I
cover
have not seen them since, so I can't really talk on specifics. From what I remember of Chapter 2, the sequel,
Yeah.
I saw that in a packed cinema.
Okay.
As in, I was the second row from the front.
Ooh. Yeah.
That's how packed it was. And it was so much fun. I have not had so much fun seeing a horror movie.
Fantastic.
Because all of the like jump scares and all that kind of stuff that was happening, the audience was so on board with it. Everyone was, but it wasn't a case of people being scared. It was people having fun with it. It was a very fun movie from what I remember.
Okay.
From what I remember of 3 and 4, and even The Red Door, which is the 5th one, from what I remember of those, they're a little bit more serious. They don't feel quite as fun.
Okay.
But again, my memory is hazy. I don't know.
All right. Well, how about this? If we, as we continue the iceberg, and if we end up, whatever point we end up watching, these other Insidious films, we'll just mention them as an addition to what we're initially talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Because we've got Sword folks on next as well. Okay. I think that's it. The last note. They knew they had a sequel on their hands before they started making this film.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Because
totally.
the entire setup of that end bit, after they rescue Dalton and he's eating his spaghetti, everything after that point is setting up the sequel.
That's why Valak appears throughout without really any kind of, there is, her in the background, that sort of thing, but it's become Lipstick Man, that's who we're Face, that's who we're focusing on. Valak is untouched, comes at the end, fucks up the whole happy ending. They knew they had a sequel, and this was going to be the big bad Valak. Do you like Valak? Because the nuns,
I don't like the nuns. It was so boring. If I ever feel the need to check off that list on Letterboxd of like completed, because you know how on Letterboxd how you have like in your stats, your like completed collections and stuff.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some on there that's like close to being completed, and sometimes I'm like, no, I'll get to 100% on that. So at some point I might end up watching it, but
You mean the Nun 2?
yeah. I mean, just so then I can say that I've completed it.
But I really
That's the only reason. Maybe I need. I think maybe in like a more group setting or a party kind of setting, a group
that's
setting
a good idea.
would be better.
Watch along
As
high,
opposed to
whatever, drunk,
as opposed to
whatever,
alone trying to actually take it seriously, because I'll just be on my phone the entire time.
Yeah.
And be like, sorry, what's going on? What's happening?
Yeah, that's why I'm glad we're going back to these films on the Gateway tier, because this is the classic Blumhouse James Wan stuff. And they're really good. They're really good. Yeah. And I love the Sinisters. I love the Purges. All the early movies of this early foundational stage.
Yeah, that original Sinister, so good. Scott Derrickson he did Sinister. He did The Black Phone as well. Which is also with Ethan Hawke. But he is doing a remake of Night of the Hunter. It's apparently going to, instead of it being a remake of Night of the Hunter, because that's an adaptation from, I don't know if the book is of the same title or not, but it's more of another adaptation from the book rather than a remake of the movie.
Oh, okay, well that's something,
And apparently, like when I was reading the article about like this new movie being in the works, it was saying that there's stuff in the original book that is pretty dark and fucked up that isn't in that original film.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay,
and
from what I've seen from Scott Derrickson.
Make a dark ass film.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
We'll see.
Yeah. Cool. I had something, but it's gone. That doesn't matter. What about a rating? You remember our
Yeah.
sister? What are you doing?
Because I had so much fun with it and I really, really liked it, I rated The Conjuring 3.5. And
yes.
I really like this one. I like it better than The Conjuring.
Okay.
I had a lot more fun with it.
Yeah.
Because of the tone it's not quite as grounded in reality. And so I'm personally rating it 4 out of 5.
Okay, fair. So
I really enjoyed it.
That's delicious. You found
Yes,
it delicious.
Yes.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I will give it 3.5. So it's very satisfying. So it's, very enjoyable popcorn, and every so often it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
Is this a peanut M&M? You know what I mean? There were little delicious candy treats in the popcorn there.
Yeah.
So no, I'm glad I watched this.
Yeah.
I didn't mind watching the second time round.
I would happily rewatch it, and
Yeah.
I kind of want to watch the sequel now. Rewatch that one.
Yeah, no, I'm going to.
Yeah.
I'm going to before I watch.
Because literally all I remember from the sequel, is stuff in the further, and like all of that stuff, and some of the jump scare moments in that. Some ghost just jumping out of nowhere, screaming at someone's face and slapping them across the room. And the entire audience in this packed cinema just absolutely losing their shit at it, laughing so hard. Oh my god. So I kind of need to rewatch it.
Okay, cool. So, what are we doing next? We have left. We have Scream. We have Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, and Friday the 13th. Now, we wanted to do a link between to the second tier. Remember we had that conversation?
The Wes Craven ones.
The Wes Craven, so we'll leave Nightmare to last then, yeah? So that begs the question, is it Scream or Chucky, isn't it? And we'll Friday the 13th.
Yeah. We'll do Scream, then Nightmare on Elm Street, because they're both Craven.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So therefore it's Friday or Chucky, Jason or Chucky. You know what my preference is?
I want to do Child's Play.
Yeah, we could. Much more fun. We'll get to Jason.
Yeah.
Well, I do think it's a good film. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Just Chucky's way much more fun.
Exactly.
Yes. And Child's Play is a
lot more
great
charismatic too.
Yeah, and the first film is a dark fucking film.
It is. It really is.
Compared to the rest, it's a dark fucking film. Definitely. So we're doing Child's Play next. It's the original. Go look for it. Come back. Watch it. So you can enjoy it more. Our conversation. Absolutely. And now, just the usual stuff. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Do follow us, Evil Popcorn Pod, Evil Popcorn Podcast. Leave a comment. And if you don't, look what happened to Frank. He didn't subscribe. This is what we did to him. All right. So please, do the things. Right. That's all. Any last words, Dorian?
No, you pretty much said it all.
This has been Mr. Popcorn and Dorian keeping it bloody peace. Whoa,